In the previous video, we have seen how to connect to MySQL database and how to execute SQL queries using Java. So this is completed. In this video, we will look at Java Reflections package and see an example on loading classes, constructors and methods dynamically at runtime. So why do we need to learn Java Reflections? Because this Java Reflections, we use it in keyword driven framework. That's why we need to know this Java Reflections package. Okay. And what is this Java Reflections package? This Java Reflections package is used to load any class, its constructor or methods at runtime. So load any class, its constructors and methods at runtime. That means we don't need to create an object for any class, but if we want to load any class, constructors and methods at runtime, then we will use Java Reflections. Now let's say I have a package called Actions. Okay, so this is the package. Actions is the package, and I have a class called Homepage, and this is the class. Okay, so the class is Homepage, and within this class, let's say I have a global variable, static variable. So public static int, and let's say it is global A. So this is the variable. Global A is the variable. This is a static variable, and I am using a constructor in this one to initialize this global variable. So the constructor is public homepage. Since the constructor name starts with the class name, so it is public homepage, and then this is an argumented constructor. So I am passing an integer variable here. So int A, and then here I am initializing the static variable here. So I am saying global A equals to A. So I have a constructor here, so which is homepage int A. I am passing a variable to this one, and I am initializing this global variable with this value int A. Okay, so now once I initialize this one, I have a method in this one, and the method is I want to get the addition of two variables. So what I will do is I will create a method here. So public, and the method returns the sum. That means it returns an integer. So public int, I'll say get sum is the method, and I am passing a variable here which is int b. Okay, so now what I would like to return is I want to combine this int b value with this global a value, and I would like to return that sum. So I will say return global a plus b. That means I am returning the sum of global a and b, and I am passing int b to this method get sum here. So this is my class. This is my homepage class. So basically I have a static variable here which is global a, and I am using an argumented constructor here to initialize this global a value. So I am passing some variable here, and I am initializing the global a value to this value, and I have a method where I would like to get the sum of this global a and another variable that I will pass, and I am passing that int b value here. So get sum of int b, return global a plus b. So this is what I am doing in this class. Now let us say I have another package. Let's say the package name is driver. So this is package, and I have another class which is contact homepage. So this is the class. So let's say the class is this is contact homepage. So contact homepage. So now I want to load this class homepage class in this contact homepage dynamically. That means I don't want to create an object for this homepage. I want to dynamically load this one. So there will be some situations where you have to load it dynamically instead of creating an object. So in those cases we'll use these Java reflections, and keyword driven framework also will face that kind of situation where we cannot create an object, but we have to load the class dynamically. Then we use this Java reflections package there. So now let's say in this contact homepage class, I want to load this homepage class dynamically. So for loading any class dynamically, we have a method called forName of the class. So the method is forName, and this is from the class. So we will use class.forName. Let's write this one clearly. So we will use class.forName. So this is the method we use, and what we have to do is we have to pass this package name dot class name. So we have to pass the package name dot class name. The package name is actions and the class name is homepage. So now this class homepage will be loaded and it returns an object of the type class. So let's say the object name is, let's say it is CLS. This is the object name, but this returns an object of the type class. So class. And what we have to do is we have to put two angular brackets here, and we have to use a question mark here. That means when we are using a question mark means this class can be of any type. So in order to load a class, we are using the forName method of the class. So we have to use class.forName, and then in brackets we have to give the package name dot class name, and this will return an object of the class. So the object name is, let's give it as CLS, and it is of the class. And we have to put two angular brackets and then a question mark. Then this class can be of any type. So this is how we can load a class dynamically at runtime in another class. Now the class is loaded. Now let us say I would like to get all the public methods of this class homepage. Okay, I would like to get all the public methods of this class homepage. For that one, we have a method called getDeclaredMethods. The method is getDeclaredMethods. This method, it returns all the public methods within this class homepage. It won't return any private methods, but it returns all the public methods. So to use this method, we have already created an object of the type class CLS. So CLS dot getDeclaredMethods, and it returns an array of public methods. So what we have to do is we have to capture it in an array of methods. So method, so it returns an array of methods, and I'll give the name as to this array as public methods equals to. So this way we can get all the public methods in this class. We will use the method getDeclaredMethods, and we have already created this object. So CLS.getDeclaredMethods, and it returns an array of methods. So we will use an array of methods and the name is public methods. Now we can loop over this array and print each and every method in this particular class homepage. Okay, now we got like all the public methods. Now I would like to call this particular method getSum. So in order to call this particular method getSum, first I have to load this method and then I have to invoke this method. For loading this method, we have a method called getDeclaredMethod. So this is to get all the methods. So we use getDeclaredMethods here. So an S at the end of this method name. But in order to get only one particular method, then we have to use get declared method, and then we have to pass some parameters. So let's see that one. And this get declared method returns a method. So what we have to do is method MC equals to CLS is our object, CLS dot get declared method. Okay, we are not using S here. It is only just get declared method. And what is the method that we want to load? So the method is, it is get sum. This is the method I want to load. So I have to pass this method name get sum as one parameter, and the next one I have to pass is, if you see, this is taking an integer type as a parameter. So I need to pass the class of that integer type, and the class for that integer type is int dot class. So what we are doing is we are using get declared method to load a method, and we are passing the method name and also what type of variables that particular method takes. So since it takes an integer type variable, we are passing the class type for that particular integer. So it is int dot class. That's what we have to pass. Suppose we are passing a string variable here, so then we have to pass string dot class here. Now this method is loaded. Now we have to invoke the method. So let me write this one here. So this is loading a method. Okay, now the method is loaded. Now we have to invoke this method. That means we have to call that method. We have to run that method. But before running this method getSum, if you see, it is returning global A plus B. So we have to call this constructor to set this global A value, because we are using global A value here. So we have to call this constructor. So that means we have to load the constructor first. So for loading the constructor, we have a method called get constructor. So this equals to CLS dot get constructor, and again this constructor is accepting an integer variable, and that integer variable we have to pass the class type of that integer variable, which is int dot class. And if you are using a string value also here in the constructor, then we have to use string dot class as well. Okay, now this returns a constructor of the type constructor. So let's say the name is CONS, and this returns a constructor. So constructor, and this constructor can be of any type. So I will use angular brackets and a question mark here. Okay, so I'm using get constructor method, and I'm passing the variable type, that is class type, which is int dot class, and I'm getting the object here. Now the constructor is loaded. That means this is loading a constructor. Now the constructor is loaded. Now we can call this method. So here we are only loading the constructor. We are not passing the actual value. So now we have to call the method. For calling the method, we have invoke method. Okay. So now let's invoke this one. We have this method loaded here. So we'll use that object here. So we'll say MC dot invoke. We are invoking the method, but before this we need to pass the values for this constructor as well. We need to pass the value, the A value here, which will be used to set the static variable global A. So for passing that one, what we have to do is we have to create a new instance of the constructor. So that one we will do constructor dot new instance, and in brackets we will pass the value for this one. That means here we are passing the value for the constructor. So 1 I am passing. That means now the global A will become 1, and then I have to pass the value for the method. So I want to pass it. I have to pass a variable for this method as well. So I am passing 2 here. So I am using invoke method here. So I have created this method object here, mc.invoke. So first I have to call this constructor by passing this variable, because we are setting this global A value here. So I am calling this one constructor.new instance of 1. That means I am passing the variable 1 here, and then for the actual method I am passing the variable here. So this variable 2 will be set to int b. So first this constructor will be called by passing this variable 1, and global A value becomes 1, and then this method will be invoked by passing this variable 2. So b value will become 2, and return global A plus b will be returned. Global A plus b, that means 1 plus 2 will be returned. And since this is returning an integer here, we have to capture this value. So for that one, what we'll do is we'll create a new variable here, int sum equals to, and we have to cache this to integer type. So int sum equals to, we have to cache this to integer type, mc.invoke of constructor.new instance of 1, comma, and this is the variable for the method. So this is how we can load a class, we can load a method, we can load a constructor, and we can call it method. So let's see this one more time. So why do we need Java reflections? So Java reflections are needed to load any class or constructors or methods at runtime. So in Selenium, these are needed if you have to work in keyword driven framework. Okay, now let's say I have an actions package. So this is a package, and also a homepage class, and within this homepage class I have a static variable which is global A, and I am using a constructor here to set the value for this static variable, and then I have a method getSum, and I am passing a variable here and some value here, and I would like to return this static variable value plus the value that I am passing. So this is what I would like to get. Now I have another package which is driver, and I have another class contact homepage. Now under this contact homepage, I want to load this class homepage dynamically. That means I don't want to create an object for this one. For that one, in order to load, first we have to load the class. So in order to load the class, we have a method forName of the class. So class.forName, we have to pass package.className. So actions.homepage, and this returns an object of the type class. So I am naming this as CLS here, and this is of type class. This is an object of class. Okay, and this class can be of any type. So I am using 2 angular brackets and then question mark here. That means this class can be of any type. Now the class is loaded here, and now what I would like to do is I would like to call this public int getSum method. Okay, in order to call this method, first we have to load this method. For loading the method, we have a method called getDeclared method. So this is the method we have to use, and we have already created an object for this class. So cls.getDeclared method, and then what is the method name? The method name is getSum here. So we are passing that one, and this getSum method takes one argument which is an integer. So we have to pass the class type of that integer, so which is int.class. For example, if I am passing like another variable also, then I have to put a comma here, and then I have to add that variable also, and this returns a method. So I am naming this method as MC. So this returns a method. This will load the method. Okay, and if you want to get like all the public methods within this class, so if you want to get all the public methods within this class, then we can use getDeclared methods, and it returns an array of methods. So within this array, we can use for loop to iterate over that, and we can print all the method names. Okay, now you can use this method, and now we have seen this getDeclared method to load a particular method where we have to pass the method name and of the class type of the variables that we are passing for that method. Now the method is loaded, and we have to invoke that method. That means we have to call that method, we have to run the method. But before running the method, we have to call the constructor, because the constructor is setting the value for the global A, which will be used in this method getSum. So before calling that constructor, we have to load the constructor. For loading the constructor, we have getConstructor method here. GetConstructor of this constructor takes a variable which is of integer type. So we have to use the class type of that integer, which is int.class. So cls.getConstructor of int.class, and it returns a constructor object. So constructor object is cons, and this constructor can be of any type. So I am using again two angular brackets and a question mark, and it will load the constructor. Now I can call this method. For calling the method, we have invoke method. So we have created this method object here, MC. So mc.invoke, but we have loaded this constructor here, but we haven't called this constructor. So first we have to call this constructor within this invoke method. So we have constructor.newInstance, and then we have to pass the actual value to the constructor. So we are passing 1 here. So this global A value will be set to 1 here, and then we have to pass the actual value for the method variable that we are passing. That means we are passing some integer variable here. So we are passing some integer variable here. So we are passing that value here, 2 here. So 2 will become 2 will come and sit into B, and it returns, since we are returning the sum, which is an integer, we have to capture that one with some integer variable. So I have created new integer variable int sum, and we have to cache this thing to integer variable. So in brackets put int. So this is how we can invoke the method as well. Let's see an example for this one, then you will clearly understand this one. Okay, so what I will be doing is, first I will create a new package here, and the package name is actions, and click on finish. Now the package is created, and I am creating a new class under this, which is homepage, and I am using the main method in this one. Click on finish. Okay, so within this main method, what I will do is, okay, I don't use this main method actually, because we don't run this one particularly. So let's take out this one, and what I will do is, I will create like two static variables here. One is public static int global A. So this is one static variable, and another one is a string variable. So public static string global str. So these are the two static variables we have created, and now I will be creating a constructor to set this global variable. So public homepage, since the constructor name should be same as the class name, so I am using homepage. And now what I will do is, I will pass the variables int a and string str, and what I will do is, global A equals to A and global str equals to str. So I am setting these two global variables. Okay, now once this is done, then what I will do is, I will create a method here, public int get sum of 2 with global. So I'll say get sum of 2 with the global, and I'll pass one integer variable here, int a. So otherwise I'll simply say get sum and int a, and here what I will do is, I will return the sum of, so return global A plus A. So this is what I am returning. Okay, so now this is done. So instead of naming, like, let's see like a few more methods. That's why like that will be useful for you. So get, I'll say sum of 2, okay, and then I'll create another method, public int. I'll again getting the sum of 3. So sum of 3 int a comma int b. I'm passing two variables here, two integer variables, and I will return global a plus b. That means I am returning the sum of three variables, global a plus b. Now once this is done, then we will write another method, public string get concatenation of 2. So I will pass a string here, string str, and then I will return global str plus str. That means a concatenation of these two strings. One is global str and another one is string str. So a concatenation of these two I am returning. And now let me write another method, which is, let me just copy this one and I will change this one. Okay, so this is the fourth method. So I'll say get concatenation of three strings. So 3. So I'll pass string str1, string str2. I'm passing two variables here, and here I'll say string str1 plus str2. So this is what I am returning. So what I did was I have created a package actions, and under this package I have created a class homepage, and within this class I am creating two global variables, static variables, which are, one is an integer variable and another one is a string variable, global a and global str. Now I am initializing these two static variables using the constructor here, public homepage int a comma string str, global a is equal to a and global str is equal to str. And now I have created four methods. One is get sum of 2. I am passing one variable, integer variable here, and I am returning global a plus a. And then I have created another method which is get sum of 3, int a comma int b, and I am returning global a and the sum of these two integer variables we have passed, so which is global a plus b. And I have created another method which is concatenation of two strings, and I am passing one string variable here, and it returns the global string variable plus the string variable we are passing. Similarly, I have created another method which is get concatenation of 3, and I am passing two string variables here, one str1 and str2, and I am returning a concatenation of this global str plus str1 and str2. So this is what we are doing in this class. Now let's create another package here, and the package name is, let's say, new package. I'll give it as actions contact. So this is the package name. Now actions contact package is created. Now I will create a class under this one, which is a driver class, and I am using public static void main method here. Click on finish. So now in this driver class, I would like to load this class homepage class dynamically, and I would like to call all these methods. So in the driver class, first what I have to do is I have to load the class first. So for loading the class, we have Class.forName method of the class, and which returns an object of the type class. So class in brackets we will put question mark, that means this class can be of any type, and the object name is, let's say, CLS equals to class.forName. And what we have to give here we have to give the package name dot class name. The package name is actions here, because we want to load the class homepage here. So the package name is actions dot homepage, and it is throwing an error, and the error is add throws declaration. Click on that, and now class not found exception is added. Okay, so now the class is loaded. Now let's see how to get all the public methods of this class homepage. Okay, we have four public methods here. So we have four public methods here. One is get sum of 2, get sum of 3, get concatenation of 2, get concatenation of 3. So these are the four methods we want to get. So for that one, we have the method get declared methods, which returns an array of methods. So method, this is an array, and we'll say methods, or we'll use like public methods, equals to CLS dot get declared methods. So this is the one that we have to use, and it returns an array of methods, and it is throwing an error, and the error is import method java.lang.reflect. Click on this one, and java.lang.reflect is imported. Now we can use a for loop to loop over this array, or we can use arrays.toString to print this one. So let's use arrays.toString. So I'll say system.out.println public methods.toString. So let's run this one. So driver.java, okay, run as Java application. Sorry, this is the wrong one we have. So we have to do it as arrays.toString, and we have to pass this public methods array name here. So public methods. Okay, let's run this one, but it is throwing an error. Okay, import arrays. So let's import arrays. So the method name is arrays.toString, and then we have to pass this public methods as the parameter. Let's run this one. And you can see that it is printing all the public methods like get sum of 3 and then gets concatenation of 3, like this. It is printing all the methods. Let's use a for loop here. So for int I equals to 0, I is less than public methods dot length and then I plus plus. So let's print it like one by one. So system.out.println, I'll say method of, sorry, it's not method, it's public methods of I. So let's run this one, run as Java application, and you can see that all the 4 methods are printed here. One is get sum of 3, and then get concatenation of 2, get sum of 2, and get concatenation of 3. So these are all the public methods. Now let's call this method, and the method name is get sum of 2. For this one, first we have to load this method, and then we have to load the constructor, and then we have to call the method by calling the constructor. Okay, so here what I will do is I will say method MC equals to CLS. This is the class that was loaded. So that's the object CLS dot. So first thing is we have to load the method. So for loading the method, we have get declared method. So get declared method, and here we have to give the name of the method and the parameter types here. So these parameter types we have to give the class types here. So the name of the method is, the first method we are passing it here is get sum of 2. So let's give it as get sum of 2, and here it accepts of integer type, and the parameter is of integer type, and we have to give it the class type parameter. So we have to give int dot class. So now the method is loaded, but it is throwing an error, and the error is add throws declaration. So add throws declaration is added, and it is added, and it has added no such method exception, and also security exception or something. Okay, so now the method is loaded, and the next thing is we have to load the constructor as well. So for loading the constructor, we have the method get constructor. So I'll say constructor and this can be of any type. So constructor, I'll say I'll give the name again as with small letters, constructor is equal to, we have the method get constructor here. So CLS dot get constructor, and here we have to pass the parameter types, and this constructor takes an integer parameter and a string parameter. So we have to pass the class types for this parameter. So int.class and string.class. That's what we have to pass. So int.class and then string.class. So now the constructor is loaded, but it is throwing an error here, and the error is import constructor java.lang.reflect. So click on that one, and the constructor java.lang.reflect constructor is imported. Now we have to call the method. So for calling the method, we have the invoke method for this one, and since this method, it is returning an integer here, so we need to create a new integer value to capture the return value. So int, I'll say sum equals to, then we have to cast it to integer type, and then we have to use the invoke method. So mc.invoke, and it is taking two arguments. The first argument we have to pass, we have to call the constructor here. So for that one we have the new instance method. So constructor dot new instance, and we have to pass the actual value for the constructors. So I'll pass the first value is an integer variable here. So if you see this one, it is taking an integer and a string. So I will say 1 comma this constructor is taking two variables here. One is 1 comma, okay, why it is not taking this value? Let me do it one more time. So mc.invoke, and I will create constructor. This is the constructor object, constructor dot new instance, constructor dot new instance, and in this new instance I have to pass the integer value, and also so 1 comma I will pass Subbu. Okay, and this argument 1 is nothing but the value that we pass to the method. So I will pass. Now it is throwing an error here, and the error is add throws declaration. So illegal access exception is added. Okay, so now I am calling this method using invoke. Now I will get the value into this sum. So I will print this value here, system.out.println, the sum of two elements is plus sum. Okay, so now let's run this one. Run as Java application, and you can see that it is printing sum of two elements is 3. So the thing here is that we haven't created any object here. We have dynamically loaded all the class, the constructor, and also the method. So what we did was, first we have loaded the class using this statement, class in angular brackets question mark cls equals to class.forName, and we are passing the package name dot class name. Once this is done, then we'll load a particular method using get declared method. So cls dot get declared method, and we have to pass the name of the method, which is get sum of 2, and then the type, the variable type that we are passing, the class type we have to pass here. So we are passing an integer data type, so int.class we have to pass. And since this method, it will return the sum of this global variable plus the variable that we are passing, and these global variables are set by the constructor. So first we have to call the constructor. For calling the constructor, first we have to load the constructor. So for loading the constructor, we have cls.getConstructor method here. So this cls.getConstructor of, and the variables that it is taking is an integer and a string here. So what we are doing is, we have to pass the class type of that integer and string, which is int.class and string.class, and it returns an object of the type constructor. So the object we named it as constructor, and this is of the type constructor, and this constructor can be of any type. So we have used angular brackets and a question mark. Now once that is done, then we can call the method using invoke method. So mc.invoke of, and first we have to call the constructor. Here we only loaded the constructor, so now we have to call the constructor by using constructor.new instance of, we have to pass the values here. This constructor takes an integer, which is we are passing 1 here, and a string which is Subbu here, and then the actual method parameter which is an integer, so we are passing 2 here, and we have created a new integer variable because this method, the get sum of 2 method returns an integer. So we have created a new integer variable, and we are capturing that returned integer into this integer, and finally we are printing this one. And once we run this one, it shows that the sum of 2 elements is 3. Now let's call another method, which is the sum of 3. So we have to pass 2 variables here. So let's try this one. So for doing this one, again, like, it's very simple because we have already created this one. So what we have to do is, let's just copy these 4 sentences and we'll modify this one. So this is, let's say this is first method, and this one is second method. Okay, so in this one, since we have already declared this method as MC, so we'll just use MC here because we have already declared this one. Now we'll say get sum of 3, and we are passing 2 variables here. One is an 2 integer variables, so int.class and int.class. So this is what we have to do here. And then once this is done, again we are using the same constructor object. So constructor equals to cls dot get constructor of, so we are again, like, this is same because we are passing only integer and string variables here. And now we are calling this constructor, not constructor, but the method get sum of 3. So using invoke method, invoke constructor of new instance 1, 2, and we have to add one more variable here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now the sum of 3 elements is, okay, again we don't need to use int here because we have already declared that one previously. Okay, now everything is done. So what we did was, we just changed the name of the method here, but since here we are passing 2 integer variables, we have used int.class, int.class. Once this is done, we are loading the constructor. Once the constructor is loaded, then we are invoking the method using mc.invoke, and we are calling the constructor first by passing the values 1, Subbu, and then the actual parameters to the method 2, 3. Okay, now we are printing the sum here. Let's run this one. Run as Java application, and you can see that the sum of the elements is 6. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, 6. Now let's call this concatenation method, get concat 2. So what I will do is, I'll copy the same thing and I'll say this as third method, and in this one, so I'll load the method get concat 2. So let me check the spelling here. Get concat 2. So get concat 2. Okay, so this one will accept a string variable, so I'll say string dot class. So I have to use string dot class, and then in the constructor I'm loading the constructor. Again this statement is same, cls dot get constructor, and the class types of the parameters, and then I have to define a string variable here because it returns a string. So string str, I'll say concat str equals to, and we have to cast it to the string type, string mc.invoke constructor, and I am passing the constructor the values 1, Subbu, and the value for the method I have to pass a string here. So I'll say selenium. So this is what we have to do. Now system.concatenation of 2 strings is I'll say ContactActions. So this is what we have to do. So what we did was, first we have loaded the method which is get concat to get concatenation of two strings. So, and I am passing a string variable to that method. So I have to use the class variable, class type of that particular string variable. So string.class I am using here. And then I am loading the constructor. So for loading the constructor we use the get constructor method. So this is same. And then I am invoking the method. So this, since the return type for that method is a string, so we have created a new string here and we are capturing the return value into this string. And I am using the invoke method, invoke of constructor.newInstance. First I have to call the constructor. So for that one I am using the constructor created here, the object that is created here. So constructor.newInstance of, I am passing 1 comma suppu to that constructor, and the actual value to the method I am passing is selenium. So now I am printing the concatenation of the two strings, which is concat string here. Let's run this one. Run as Java application. Okay, concatenation of the two strings is suppu selenium. Now let's call the fourth method here. So let me copy this one. So I'm just copied that one and I'm using the same thing, and I'm loading the method get concat3, and since I'm passing two string variables to that one, I have to use string.class and another string.class. Okay, so now this is done. Now I have loaded the constructor as well, and I'm using the same string name ContactStr of, and then mc.invoke constructor new instance selenium, and I will pass another variable which is Java. Okay, and here what I will do is concatenation of three strings is ContactStr. That's all. Okay, now let's run this one. Run as Java application, and you can see that concatenation of the three strings is suppu, selenium and Java. So this is how we can use the reflections package in Java, and we can load any class and its constructors and also methods. This one will be using in keyword driven framework. So this is important for you to learn. So if you don't understand this, just watch this video one more time and you will be able to understand this one. And if you have any questions on this one, just let me know in the comment section and I will be able to answer them. In this video, we have seen what Java reflections package is, and we have also seen an example on how to load the classes dynamically, and also how to load the constructors and methods dynamically, and how to call the constructors and methods dynamically in any other class. If you want to download the document for this one, you can go to my repository at github.com/suppustech and then go to selenium-java-tutorials. And this particular tutorial starts with numbering 27, and this is the one, Java reflections loading classes, constructors and methods at runtime. You can download this document. In the next video we will see about Java date functionality, and we will see how to get the current date and future dates in Java, because if you have any application like a flight application where you need to book a flight with some future date, then you need to get the current date and then the future date also. So in the next video we'll see this Java date functionality and we will see how to get the current date and future dates.